Good morning. Welcome to Escoffier Online. My name is Chef Caesar. Today I'm going to prepare for you a roasted sweet potato and apple soup. This is, the time of the year when potatoes are coming into season. The sweet potatoes, like from the end of October to December, they're very abundant. I mean, you can get it year round, but apples, this is the season, the fall, and they make a wonderful soup. So I'm going to start by kind of going over the ingredients. I got some. I like to use grated sweet apples because they're very sour. And the flavors balance really well with the sweetness of the potatoes, so you don't want to have something that's very sweet. So like I said, you want to balance the flavors really well. I'm also using some sweet onions. These are vidalia onions, which are very sweet. And I got some fresh ginger, some garlic, some cream, a chicken stock. So it's really a few ingredients I'm using. I'm also going to use some nutmeg to flavor my soup, and some white pepper, some salt. And again, this is simple to do. Also, when you cut your apples, if you want to cut them ahead of time, make sure you put them in some cold water with some lemon juice or lime juice to prevent, oxidizing the apples. So they're not going to turn brown on you. They're going to be nice and fresh. So let's start by, draining our apples right here. Take the water out of here. As you can see, they're still nice and crispy. They're not, color, which is great. So we're gonna start with heating up some butter here. I'm using some whole butter, unsalted. I like to use sweet butter. That way I'm able to control the salt. And otherwise, if you put some salt butter, your soup might be too salty. So I'm gonna put it in here. I'm using about 2.5 teaspoons. And be careful when you're using whole butter. Since it has a lot of milk solids, it's going to brown very quick. So you want to be careful with the heat. You don't want to turn the heat on too high, because otherwise dairy, when it burns, it doesn't taste that good. So you want to be very, very careful just to melt the butter. I'm getting my onions ready here. We're going to sweat the onions and apples. Okay, now that my butter has melted really nice, I'm gonna start by sweating the onions here. And be careful when you sweat the product. You don't want to give any color. You just want to, bring some of the moisture out, and to just intensify the flavors. So I also like to add a little salt when I'm sweating, onions in this case, because it brings some of the water out. Salt helps to bring the water out. So just a little bit. Okay. As you can see, the butter is nice and white and not brown, which is very important. You don't want to, add any color to the onions. And also, like I said before, when you burn like dairy, the flavor is not very good. So you want to be careful. If you want, you can also use clarified butter, or if you want to use like olive oil, for example, you're more than welcome to. Now I'm going to add some of my chopped garlic here. I got 1 clove of chopped garlic. Also, I got some fresh ginger. And you want to sweat your onions for a few minutes until they become a little translucent. You're gonna see that they're gonna become translucent. That's when you want to add your apples. Now I'm gonna throw my apples in there. I slice them into little thin slices. You can chop them up into maybe small dice, but like I said, I'm gonna puree this anyway, so I kind of slice them into very thin little slices there. So my apples are going there now. And you can actually smell the ginger that I put in there. It smells really nice and refreshing. And the garlic too. I'm going to add a little bit of white wine here. I'm using just some regular Chardonnay. If you want to use something sweet like a Riesling, this would be a good dish to use a sweet wine, or a Moscato, for example. I'm going to grate some fresh nutmeg in there. If you guys don't have fresh, the ground will do the job, but fresh is always more, it's always better. About one, if you're using the ground stuff, about 1.5 teaspoon nutmeg. And you're going to see a lot of liquid in the pot. That's normal. That's from the apples. There's a lot of moisture in the apples, so some of that's going to come out. And that's okay. It's going to give a lot more flavor to your soup. So you want to pretty much reduce this down a little bit, about 4 more minutes, till the flavor of the wine and all the juice in the apples kind of intensify a little more. You're going to see the apples are going to start to get very soft too. Over here I got my chicken stock ready. This is already hot. I mean, you can use something you buy at the store if you want to make your own. I made my own, which is much better. I don't know if you guys ever tried it at home. I mean, the process is a little longer to make a chicken stock, but really, it's not a lot of work. You just have to, keep an eye on your stock. But once you get it going, it's just a matter of waiting until it's done so the flavors develop. But it's up to you. You can also use something you buy at the store. I got some cream over here, which I already have warmed up already. Okay, now we have our soup cooking here. I'm going to add some of my sweet potatoes here. What I did with this, I roast them in the oven for about, I cut them in quarters, depends how big they are, cut them in quarters, and I put them in a baking dish with a little water, cover them with foil, and I baked them for about 35 minutes until they were nice and soft. And if you want, you can always put them in the soup raw. You could cut them up a little bit in smaller pieces and put them in the soup, just peel. And it's going to take a little longer to your soup to be finished, but I like it like this because, when you roast them, they get a nice and sweet flavor from their roasting process. So, and you can always, like I say, use them raw and put them in the soup like that, just chop like the apples. I'm going to break them up a little bit. I'm going to puree the soup anyways with my immersion blender, but if you want to break them up a little bit, that's okay too. It'll be easier when we puree this smaller pieces later on. I'm adding a little white pepper here. A couple little pinches. Okay, now I'm going to add my chicken stock here. I'm going to leave a little chicken stock just in case I need to, it gets too thick, I want to add a little more. Or if it gets too runny, then you can't take it out. So I want to wait a little bit until I puree the soup. Since chicken stock was already hot, so this is going to come to a boil very quick. It doesn't take very long to get this soup done. As you can see, it's very quick. Okay. I'm going to taste it, make sure it has enough salt in there. Tastes good. A bit more. I'm going to break down a little more of this baked potato pieces. That way when I puree the soup, it's much easier to do. If you guys want your soup to be a little sweeter, you can also use like a sweet apple, something that's not too sour like I did here, but it's up to you. You don't have to use the granite meat apples, which are a little more sour. You can use a different apple, which is much sweeter. Coming to a boil now, little by little. In the meantime, I'm going to cut some apples to do a little garnish here. I'm going to do some julienne with some red apple and a little green just to top my soup off. As you can see, it's coming to a boil. I'm going to start to puree my soup here before I add the cream. If you guys don't have one of these immersion blenders, you can use a regular blender. You can scoop off all the pieces with a slider spoon and put it in the blender. Be careful when you puree something that's hot in your blender, and then the pressure builds up, and sometimes the top just blows up. So you want to be careful not to burn yourself, and don't put as much, and kind of put a towel on the top so you don't burn yourself. Oops. favorite cream is already warm. Okay, like half of it. Okay, now we're ready. You want to get a real nice and smooth consistency in your soup. Okay. I'm going to add the rest of the cream there. Now I'm going to taste my soup again. It's a nice, refreshing, sweet flavor, a little sweet and sour. You can actually taste the ginger in there. I'm going to add a little bit more nutmeg in there. And this is actually going to taste even better tomorrow. If you leave it overnight for the flavors to marry together, they're definitely, it's going to taste even better tomorrow. Okay. If you want your soup to be a little bit sweeter, you can also add a little bit of sugar, but for me this is fine. Some people prefer a little sweeter soups, but this one, you know, it's right on. The flavors balance really nice, which that's what you want. As you can see, when I show you the consistency of the soup, look at that. It's not too thick or too runny. I'm going to let it come to a boil again. I'm going to cut a little julienne here for my garnish here. Also doing a little green onion, so a lot of color in there. And you guys can do whatever you like with your garnish. You don't have to put a garnish if you don't want, but it's always nice to put something on top of your soup, which is definitely going to give it a nice appearance. Now you cut your julienne to a nice brunoise here. And now my soup is coming back to a boil here, simmer really nice. At this point I'm going to shut it off. Serve a nice little bowl here that I got. Yeah. I got a little creme fraiche. I'm gonna put to garnish too. Grate a little more nutmeg over the top here. So I got some nice bread I'm gonna use to serve my soup. And you guys can use some crackers or use something different. You don't have to do what I'm doing here. It's just an idea for you guys to maybe try it at home. Again. All right. I hope you guys enjoy this live session this morning, and I hope to see you guys again in a couple weeks. Thank you, and have a nice day.